Breaking news. So Angus, I
Cable.
guess some breaking news in the last few weeks. Our last episode 47, I think it was. We talked about what was happening in the Scream franchise. What was happening? Obviously, Melissa Barrera had been fired. Jenna Ortega had announced she wasn't coming back, and there was a lot of just, I guess, the franchise was in limbo. I mean, I think you pretty much said, regardless, they'll make a movie, they'll do something because it's licensed to print money. The word Scream and Ghostface, but there was definitely some concerns from us about what they were going to do. There were rumors that the original script did have Sydney coming back, so Nev Campbell, and hopefully Mark Kincaid, which is Patrick
Patrick Dempsey.
Dempsey, would be one side story or one story, and then Melissa's character and potentially Jenna in another side story, and then it would come together for some Ghostface conclusion. Obviously, Melissa being fired changes a lot of that, and then it was sound like there was even more of a push to, like, we'll just give Nev the money and then get Patrick Dempsey on board. He starred in another slasher flick back late last year, Thanksgiving, which was a good roller coaster, a bit of fun. So recent updates is Nev is back, and the director will be the creator of the series, Kevin Williamson. So weirdly, sort of not. I don't think he's been given a writer's credit. I'm sure as the director, he'll be able to sort of fine tune a script or maybe make some decisions on the fly, but he will be directing. Nev's coming back. The next domino to fall is Patrick Dempsey. They're definitely speaking to him. I don't know if he's locked in. And then obviously the rumor was that Courtney had signed. That's not entirely true. They're definitely in talks. Uh, Insiders are saying more than likely she will be back. But look, it seems like it's all steam ahead.
Man, things are looking good. This is kind of the when we were talking about it off mic, this is kind of the dream scenario we had once everything fell apart with the Carpenter sisters from 5 and 6. Was that, well, let's not push for something where we start a whole new story all over again like we did in 5. We're talking about the 7th movie in a horror slasher franchise, which we've also talked about on off mic. Like, historically, the 7th movies get weird, man. So
Yeah,
we don't
I
need
think
to do
you were
anything.
you the one in a group, little chat. You listed the seventh movie of all the big
Yeah,
horror
like
franchises, and they normally
you
are the
get
real weird ones
yeah,
where they're
like
really
Friday 7 is when
scratch.
you get the telepathic Carrie ripoff, and Halloween 7 is H2O, where they just ignore all the movies except for the first two, I think, and then bring back Jamie Lee Curtis from the dead. And Leprechaun 7 is a prequel. Like, the 7th movie in horror, in long running horror franchises, is quite often the one where it's like, hey, at this point, you guys are just coming because we put the word in the title. So we're going to do something weird and hope that, we make our money back. And there was I had a bit of concern that would be what they did with Scream 7. They're like, well, screw it. We'll just have an entirely new cast. Who cares? Like, we'll just tell the story of Ghostface with new people.
Which I don't think. I think still would have made a little bit of money. I think there's people like. I think you would go. I would go out of curiosity,
I'll
but I
always see a Scream
really,
movie, but
I really think
you're
that it
stretching
would have
your luck.
been it would have been the death knell. I think you would find a lot of people are really attached themselves. Either they're the old school fans and they love Sydney and Gale, or there's a lot of newer people that really love the Carpenter sisters. So if you actually
Yeah.
came back with literally almost a whole new bunch of characters, I think there would be just that massive disconnect that I think people are like, I don't know, I don't, unless you make these characters really likable and you want them to survive and then a couple of them die, or you have some really popular cult actresses or actors, like you bring a Kevin Bacon in and a Sarah Michelle Gellar and a few of these sort of, where people can go, oh, I want to see, or Freddie Prince Jr., like something that can draw people in that'd be interesting. I think it could work. But generally, if you're going to cast Scream 7 with a brand new cast of unknowns, I don't know if that works.
And it would be the thing that I think would cross Scream over from being a slightly, I don't know if this is the right word, but I guess it's kind of an elevated horror series in that the thing of Scream is, and we've talked about this before, like the killer is the one who's new every time. Whereas in other slasher franchises, you keep your Jason, you keep your Freddy, you keep your Michael Myers, and it's the cast of victims that are new. And it doesn't matter who they are because you're there to see the killer. And in this one, we always have Ghostface, but Ghostface is always a different person. And it's Sydney and Gail and Dewey and then the Carpenter sisters, they're the ones that the audiences were coming to see. And it was like, who is trying to get them this time? I think if you bring an entirely new cast of people for Seven, and you also have a new killer, because obviously Ghostface is dead at the end of every movie, so you have to have a new killer. You kill the essence of what makes Scream interesting, because what it boils down to is that Scream is really fun whodunit. Like that's what all of them are. We know that someone is behind the mask. We don't know who, and that's what makes them fun. Whereas if it's a whole new cast of killers, it's like we don't know who any of these characters are. So any of them could be the killer, and we also don't care because we don't know who any of them are. That would have been the worst case scenario. I think the best case scenario we could have hoped for is that they got the originals back, and not only did they do that, but they went above and beyond. And like, we're going to get Kevin fucking Williamson back, and he is going to helm this. He's going to be the big boss. And a couple of people have pointed out to me online and in real life that isn't something that excites them necessarily, because the last time that he got his hands on the director's lens, he directed Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which people poo-pooed a lot. Teaching Mrs. Tingle, I will argue, is a victim of the post-Columbine era, the same way Scream 3 is. It was originally called Killing Mrs. Tingle.
Yeah.
It was way more intense. And then it got watered down because the studio was like, oh, no, we can't have violence in horror movies because of Columbine. It's why Scream 3 is bloodless and a comedy. So I think he's a great guy to do it. I think he has been watching all of this play out. I think he watched Scream 5 and Scream 6 and was probably sitting there going, I got a great fucking idea. And I can't believe I do. I know he had a very different idea for Scream 3 than what wound up happening. He didn't write Scream 3. So he's probably had all these ideas for a Scream movie. I know currently he's not listed as a screenwriter. I think that is just a delayed update. I think the current screenwriters wrote Scream 7, the Carpenter Sisters version. I think we are going to see Kevin Williamson with a screenwriting credit. It'll be one of those story by blah, 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 written by blah, 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 and Kevin Williamson. Yeah. And he's going to come in and he's going to do a pass where he's like, let me tell you how to do a Scream movie, guys. I think we are going to get a really friggin' awesome Scream movie out of this. I think it is a very difficult thing to do, to figure out how to get Sydney back in the mix for the 7th goddamn time. I know in 5 and 6, the killer wasn't after her, so that kind of made it a bit easier. I mean, she wasn't in 6, but in 5, the killer's not really after her, so it's a bit easier. But if anyone can, Kevin Williamson can. Like, who better to trust with an already in trouble Scream production than the man who created the goddamn world? Like, this is very exciting to me. And look, nothing's a sure thing, but I'm pretty goddamn certain that Courtney Cox is going to be in this movie. I mean, I think it's all but a sure thing. And I'm pretty damn sure that Patrick Dempsey is going to be in this movie if they want him, because you talked about this as well. I can't remember if it was on the show or off mic, but he just did a slasher. Yeah. And it was very successful. And he clearly had a lot of fun in it. And he clearly had a lot of fun in Scream 3. And another great way to fill that gap, you know, of not having Dewey, not having Sam, not having whatever the other Carpenter sister's name is, it's gone out of my head.
Tara.
Like Tara, thank you. Yeah, Sam and Tara, like potentially not having the twins coming back, because it might make things a little muddy and weird. Although I do hope they do come back. At least I hope Chad comes back, because I really liked him in Scream 6. I thought he was a great character in Scream 6. I think
he'll be in a wheelchair, surely.
The man is not well after that movie. He's really going to be in a bad way. But I think, a great way to fill that void of having so many returning characters suddenly gone after, 2 movies, is to get Kincaid back. And I've talked about this in other episodes we've done. He is the only surviving Scream character to never come back. Actually, sorry, the cameraman from 2. He didn't come back.
Yes,
But
Dwayne
everyone else,
Martin, who played Joel the
Joel,
cameraman.
thank you, Joel. Everyone else who has lived in a Scream movie, and Kincaid is obviously a much bigger character than Joel. Everyone else who lived in a Scream movie has come back in some capacity.
But you could almost have a little asterisk next to Joel in that he left. He was smart enough to leave before the final bloodbath. So
yeah, he's not going to hang around because he recognizes how goddamn dangerous it is.
But
he might be the smartest person in the entire series.
I don't know if the crazy thing is he not supposed to be the father of Mindy and Chad?
Joel?
Yes.
Is this some sort of fan theory, or is this?
I don't know. I can't remember if it was a fan theory or whatever, but it was like he's supposed to be the father. So him and Martha hook up or something. Anyway, that's another thing. Well, I'll have to go research it.
That would be wild because it's already insane that in 5 it's like it's Billy's daughter and Randy's niece and nephew. If it was also Joel's kids, like that's. I mean, I guess Woodsboro is a small town. Joel's not from Woodsboro. He was never in Woodsboro, but
true.
Why not, man? He is also one of like 3 African American characters who's ever been in that series. So maybe he has to be their parent. But yeah, that's I think a really great thing and a really exciting thing that that Kevin's back, that Nick's back, that Courtney's probably back. I think we're getting a really good Scream 7. Yeah. I think we're getting a better Scream 7 than we were going to get, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, things have worked out well.
Well, there, that's a quick little update and what we sort of think. I think it's can't think of a more positive outlook for Scream. Yeah, things can go off the rails and things can go, but I just think it's in safer hands. I just feel like Courtney and Nev wouldn't, and Kevin for that matter, won't let it be a terrible movie. I feel like there'd be enough, creative juices flowing that they will make sure that that's a pretty solid film.
I think it's going to be sick. Hey, Sequel Suck fans.
My definition alone, there are fewer films.
I almost remake a quick warning of this episode is spoilers.